A couple months ago, I made a video about how Xenoblade empowers identity. It covered several protagonists from Xenoblade 2 and 3 who have notably resonated with a queer audience. But what I neglected to mention was Xenoblade X, and with its recent arrival on the Nintendo Switch, I think it's about time that it gets its due. For to this day, an entire decade later, it is the only game in the franchise to have multiple openly gay characters. That's right, we're back again with Xenoblade X, and this just might be the most important topic yet. Not just because it's Pride Month, but because there has been a colossal elephant in the room. I cannot play this game without noticing, and nor can you if we're well acquainted. Right in front of Blade Tower, the central landmark of New LA, is an NPC who just so happens to share my name. Now that alone is uncommon for me, but not the biggest deal. That is, until you take a peek at what he looks like. This is Nara, and if you're an anime fan, you've seen this character before. But for the uninitiated, the problem isn't necessarily the overt stereotypes themselves. While many of them are egregious, there are also cases like Sylvando from Dragon Quest XI. He exhibits the same flamboyancy we've all come to expect, and yet he is deservedly one of the most beloved party members in the series. Because the real problem with most of these other characters is the way they're treated, as they're usually intended to be ridiculed by the audience. That being said, I firmly stand by my belief that art isn't about its purpose. It's about how it makes you feel. And as easy as it is to denounce Nara for being cliché, many players have become quite fond of him. In fact, in the official art book for Xenoblade X, Monolith Soft held an interview about their favorite NPCs, and believe it or not, Nara was the first to come to mind. I, for one, don't have an opinion. I am indeed one of those people who just avoided him because a gay man in a Japanese video game in 2015 isn't exactly tempting. But 10 whole years is long overdue. As much as I wanted to wait for the Switch 2 updates, I have to admit, there's no better time than Pride Month for gay Nara to finally meet gay Nara. Attack on Biyano Hills is a quest from the mediator Nara, but it can't actually begin until first meeting Suriella, a popular co-worker of his. Afterwards, Nara will offer the job to us as we are repeatedly given the option to be dismissive. To be fair, he is immediately flirtatious and provocative, true to the stereotypes we had been dreading. His boyfriend, Clemens, points us towards an ambush at a Ganglion fortress. We sadly don't make it in time. Our allies have already been wiped out, with the sole survivor being Yusuf. Turns out Clemens had been working with the Ganglion, a betrayal that quickly becomes the tip of the iceberg when we are notified of two imposters, one of Suriella and one of Clemens. The real Clemens had been murdered about a week ago, meaning it was an imposter who deceived our allies while the other informed us of their existence in the first place. Surprise, surprise, the two imposters are revealed to be Delfinians, a psychotic race of shapeshifters who all happen to be hot women for some reason. I mean, if I could shapeshift, that's what I would choose to. As if there wasn't enough plot twists, the real Suriella passed away shortly after New LA's landing, and ever since then, she has been impersonated by a Delfinian named Ario. Her work as a mediator fostered an attachment to humanity, a taboo so vile that it warrants death. And so we introduce the fake Clemens to our giant robot sword. I am way too soft to punish Ario myself, so the other Nara steps in to be the grown-up here. He takes Ario into custody, ensures her safety, and invites us to dinner after a hard day's work. I've gotta say, the Delfinians are involved in a lot of compelling side quests, and this one is right up there. Nara didn't get that much screen time though, so we're gonna have to skip dinner for now, and move on to his next side quest. Oh. Lara Mara? What? Is this a typo? I don't think they changed the script for Definitive Edition, so that is rather unfortunate. At least they nailed his coquetry, I guess. Anywho, we have now enlisted in Waste Not, Want Not, and unfortunately, that title is a bit too on the nose. To assist a Manon engineer, we have to rummage through Sylvalum for 3 pieces of wreckage. There's no follow ball to help us out here. This is a good old-fashioned scavenger hunt that isn't difficult or anything, but I sure found a way to waste my time. And that's it. Yep, definitely anticlimactic. All I learned is that Mara loves a big hug and an even better fuck. But don't fret, there is one more side quest dedicated to Mara? Wait, Mara? Again? Was Nara the typo then? Is this another Delfinian situation? Or the Mandela effect? Is my name Mara? White Lifehold takes us back to Sylvalum, this time to investigate a Lifehold unit along with some uninvited guests. We have to survive for 3 minutes against a whole slew of respawning assassins, and look, I've talked up how broken Overdrive is, but not when I'm washed up and getting jumped by 7 people. We're going to need some backup for once, if only to soak up the damage until Overdrive gets broken. By far, this was the hardest quest up to this point, so it's disappointing that I'm somewhat underwhelmed by the ending. It is objectively a monumental discovery that communication from other ARC ships are retrievable, but when it comes to Mara specifically, the lesson is supposed to be that they love money and the thrill of adventure, the latter being ironic after we did all the work. Not a bad side quest by any means, I'm just hoping that we haven't already peaked, and luckily for us, this is not the end of Mara's story. You see, I didn't pull out HB for nothing. The reward for attack on Biano Hills is a holo figure of the superior form! Now that's how you celebrate Pride Month. Considering that HB had nothing to do with that side quest, I figure this must be a desperate cry for help, subliminal messaging, if you will. And so I decided to complete HB's affinity quests in the hopes of finding any trace of Mara. Admittedly, the prerequisites were a little rough. The affinity grind alone took me about an hour. But there he is, in the flesh, in a proper cutscene with voice acting that isn't excessive. He even has an important role in this character arc. HB is known to be egotistical to the point of neglecting people in need as long as his own missions are successful. That has been slowly changing thanks to our partnership, culminating in Mara being sent as a decoy. Mara had to feign injury on our path, and if he were to be ignored, he would have the honor of punching HB right in his stupid face. Whoa, 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 whoa. Lara Nara? What do you mean, Lara Nara? You think you can just crawl back? Like it's easy? Do the M's and N's mean nothing to you? You know what? It's okay. We have one more clue remaining. If the holo figure from Nara led us back to Nara, then perhaps we should finally, and I mean finally, accept his date to the diner. Okay, just gotta head on over and... Oh! He's real! Yo, what up? Not only are Nara and Mara identical twins, but they are blatantly similar in virtually every way. You may have thought that I was overselling it, but genuinely, there are many Xenoblade X players that still do not know that these are two separate individuals. The only times you see them together is at the diner after their quests are completed or in their holo figure given to you by Mara. So that is Lara Nara and Mara, the gay mediator twins. I don't know about you, but I don't know how to feel at this moment. So that's why I want to take a look at the other examples of LGBT representation in Xenoblade X. After all, context is key. It's not just about the twins in a bubble. How do they fit alongside the other denizens of Mira? Although she isn't explicitly confirmed to be queer, Liesel in Definitive Edition is the most lesbian-coded woman in Xenoblade history. Yes, I am including Morag. From her hair, to her style, to her voice, to her personality, and to above all else, her undying allegiance to her quote-unquote best friend, Alicia. In short, Liesel and Alicia are two employees of Granada Galactic Group, a company with a laundry list of undisclosed crimes. Due to being coerced into keeping them a secret, Alicia contemplates suicide after publicizing the evidence. Though feeling betrayed, Liesel promises to stand by her as long as they face the fallout together. They proceed to beat up their asshole boss, quit their jobs in favor of their own startup, and fervently make out while holding each other in the shimmering sunset. Okay, I made that last part up, but that's what should have happened. Now, if you were thinking they were just pandering to a contemporary audience, think again! The original version of Xenoblade X has its own heavily implied lesbians. In Until the Ends, we're tasked with reuniting a pair of Wrothian girls after one of them is consumed by revenge. Beholden to their culture of pride, we're only able to save her by returning a memento. Once she comes to her senses, the two recognize each other as soulmates and vow to continue a peaceful life together. Seriously, I'm not exaggerating, they basically said everything but we're lesbians. But what surprised me the most is Delfinian Love. This side quest must be obtained by choosing to smash the disco ball matriarch. Long story. Remember Ario, who Nara took into custody? Well, she and another Delfinian named Olivia have found new lives as the opposite gender of the player avatar. Livia hopes to understand what human romance is like, but after hooking them up with someone, both of the shapeshifters come to find that they actually have a crush on us. Look, I'm not naive. They probably changed genders to simulate a straight relationship, but the fact that can even happen is pretty dang awesome. Their reactions are so wholesome when encouraging their new identities. Any trans person will understand just how validating this is. Besides, as fate would have it, two can play at that game. It's becoming quite normal for modern video games to no longer lock features behind one of two genders. Even the Miis on Switch 2 are now classified by styles. Due to its age, Xenoblade X lacks that inclusivity. But by helping an NPC named Yardley, we are able to re-customize our avatar, including swapping our gender. So while it may not be intentional, nobody can stop us from having all the gay romance we want. But now that leaves us with our most challenging mission yet. Xenoblade X has one last trick up its sleeve, and it comes in the form of a bubbly girl failure. Mia. Mia is an aspiring blade who can have her wish granted by rescuing her from her constant misadventures. On paper, it doesn't seem that bad. 5 side quests are more than usual, but it's nothing too crazy. In reality though, these quests are spread out by main story progress until their finale is abruptly gatekept by irrational demands. First of all, we have to survey Kaldros up to 65%! That is an absurdly high prerequisite, especially for someone like me at 25! Secondly, we have to clear a mission called Delfinian Downfall. Again, it doesn't sound unreasonable until you realize that mission is at the end of a quest line that requires other quest lines in order to progress. By attempting to recruit Mia, we would essentially be tangling ourselves in a humongous web of side quests, NPCs, and exploration to boot. It's no wonder why most players either don't know she's unlockable or deliberately chose not to, including myself. That is such a preposterous time sink, but thankfully for us, the internet exists. YouTube has a decade's worth of playthroughs and guides that we can refer to instead, so credit to, who am I kidding? Get that out of here! Of course we're going to unlock her! For Pride Month? Anything! I don't care how many hours we have to put in, I will make it happen! And thus ensued my journey to clear those prerequisites. I wish I could say it was a fascinating tale, but really, it was the ultimate test of patience. It was almost as if I was forced to be a completionist. We have to cover so much ground that I accidentally ran into the blood lobsters, another tedious process I've avoided for its infamy. And here's the kicker. Even when the prerequisites are cleared, the finale isn't even marked on the map. We're just expected to stumble into it. But against all odds and questionable priorities, we gain the honor of grinding for Mia's affinity quests. When fondly reminiscing on her late parents, Mia ends up relating to a Naupon in need named Tora. Since Tora's parents are legendary merchants, he wants to impress them by becoming a merchant himself. We help him achieve this in time for their reunion, and even save his father from a terrifying monster who is apparently optional to beat. That would have been nice to know. After a heartwarming reunion, our journey comes to a close with the vital piece of Mia's lore we have been working tirelessly to earn. She really misses her dads. To my knowledge, those are all of the LGBT related characters in Xenoblade X, Lara, Nara, and Mara being at the forefront. So in the end, how are we feeling? I'm not going to tell you how you should feel, nor will I claim what's right or wrong, but personally, how I'm feeling is complicated. On one hand, it is astonishing how the only explicitly gay couples in this game, and therefore the franchise, consist of men. When I think of queer romance in video games, sapphic couples are definitely much more likely to be represented. On the other hand, these men are far from devoid of the antiquated humor and tropes. The reveal of Mia's fathers is clearly supposed to be a punchline, which doesn't even make sense for Los Angeles in the future. The entire mystery of Nara and Mara honestly speaks for itself, and to my chagrin, that was the main talking point of the art book interview. They were really proud of that one. Perhaps the most offensive queer stereotype is gay and especially trans people being maliciously deceiving. While Nara apologizes and claims they didn't intend to fool us, he and Mara then start hooking up with Yusuf without ever telling him they're twins. I'm not saying I'm holding these decade-old jokes against them. My point is, they're there. We can't deny them. We're supposed to laugh, and I don't blame you if that turns you off. Heck, I rolled my eyes a few times as well. But even despite that, when all is said and done, I can't help but admire the greater purpose of these characters. Arguably the most prevalent theme of Xenoblade X is xenophobia. Humans have moved on from discriminating against each other to instead antagonizing their alien peers, no matter how innocent and compliant they are. Sometimes this results in tragedy, like Alex, the xenophobic blade who meets his ends regardless if we're able to challenge his views. But otherwise, eventually, there are humans and aliens who learn to accept each other's differences in order to coexist. And that is exactly what brings New LA to life, both figuratively and literally, which is why, whether or not it was intentional, it's sort of brilliant that we had to start with Lara Nara. The twins are evidently flawed human beings, but they're no more or less flawed than your average member of Blade. And to me, that's what defines good representation. Marginalized people don't want to be special, they just want to belong. And when I think about all the memorable side quests and NPCs this world has to offer, there is no doubt in my mind that Lara Nara and Mara belong. When you first meet the both of them, their quirks are so upfront that you're given the option to reject them. But by not doing so, by giving them a chance, you are rewarded with two sincerely hardworking, caring individuals who have a significant impact on New LA. Helping Nara in particular is what progresses the Delfinian questline, leading to the liberty of their race, the gender swap romance, and Mia becoming a Blade member at all. He's even credited with discovering a collectible in Noctilum. The twins have a subtle, yet massive ripple effect on the entire game, culminating in the revelation of Mia's parents, who she never fails to praise. It may have taken me 16 hours in total, but it was gratifying to begin this journey, feeling mixed emotions on approaching Lara Nara, only to conclude with these refreshingly simple words in Mia's final heart-to-heart. Yeah, I had two dads, and they were both pretty great. Xenoblade X was never going to be perfect when it came to its LGBT representation, but 10 years later, I appreciate it more than ever for being ahead of its time. No matter how you feel about it, I hope you can at least empathize with both sides of the fence now. All that's left for me is to leave you with some mushy parting words. Unlike the other Nara, I am the least sociable person I know. I am not a role model. I am not someone you should depend on at all. I'm just somebody trying to get by every single day. But for everyone who celebrates Pride Month, I want you to know, if it means anything at all, I see you, I love you. Don't let anyone convince you you don't belong in this world. So please keep being kind, and please keep being you.